Okay, so in the last video that I just shared, kind of part one of the series, I showed you how we could get from a raw transaction log, cohort the data, get active customers, get customers acquired, work our way all the way down to getting kind of cohort specific 1 year post acquisition values. But how do we get to customer lifetime value? Now that's a question. So imagine that we had this customer acquisition cost data. So we said, all right, I know how much I spent on acquisition related marketing. This is how many customers I acquired. This is what CAC was. Then the final steps are relatively straightforward. So let me just create a few extra things here. So I'm just going to kind of pull this data in so that we have it handy over here. So if we wanted to get 1 year CLV, we could take our 1 year PAV, we can subtract CAC, and that gets us the 1 year CLV. So we have our different cohorts over here. We have our 1 year PAVs over here. We have our CACs over here. So the 1 year CLV is just PAV minus CAC. And then the 1 year CLV to CAC, which is the implied return on investment, is simply CLV divided by CAC. So we can express that as a percentage to really emphasize this is a proxy for rate of return. Now, the other thing that we might want to do is we might want to get the payback period. Now, the payback period is the first time that you make enough profit to pay off your CAC. And so typically, payback period is supposed to be looking at the undiscounted cumulative profit per customer and then comparing that to CAC. You don't want to do that off of the discounted numbers because, again, the whole idea behind this measure is to see how quickly we get our money back, which is that's a function of undiscounted numbers. So first thing that we're going to need is a matrix that shows cumulative profit per acquired customer. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this matrix over here. I'm going to use that to just kind of get started. Let's delete these numbers. And we know that the cumulative profit per customer in the first period is always going to be the cumulative profit, the normal profit in the first period. And so as we move to the second period, though, then we need to take the profit, the cumulative profit from the previous period, and we're going to add to that the profit that we get in the next period. So over here, we made 90 in period 1, we made another 15 in period 2. So cumulative profit by the end of the first quarter is going to be 105. And that's what we see over here. So I'm just going to carry that over like that. And then we're going to do the same thing that we have been doing like a zillion times. So I'm just going to keep rolling this on through. And again, there's a fancier way of doing this that's more automated, that uses more formulas. But what I'd like to do is make sure that you understand exactly what's being done. So if we know that this is cumulative profit per acquired customer, we can then compare that to these customer acquisition cost numbers. So I'm just going to pull these down over here again. I'm just going to paste the values. So this is CAC. And let's just do, we can see by the time we get to, to 3 quarters out, every cohort has generated enough profit that they pay off their CAC. So we could say payback period. If the profit that we get when they're in the quarter that they're first acquired is greater than or equal to this, then the payback period is 0. But if not, then if cumulative profit by the end of the first quarter is greater than this, then they paid back in the first quarter. Otherwise, if cumulative profit as of the end of the second quarter is greater than CAC, then they paid off in the second quarter. And we're just going to leave it at that for now. Too many arguments. Otherwise, let's just put NA because we know there is going to be nothing else. What is my error here? There we go. And we can spot check. Honestly, do we even need a formula for this? I'm not sure. So first cohort got 90, quarter that they're born, CAC was 80, payback period 0. So that's correct. Now for this cohort, we got 82 in the first period. Cumulative profit was about 93 as of the end of the first quarter, about 103 as of the end of the second quarter. So they paid off in the second quarter. So we can see this is doing what we expected. But maybe just to confirm, we can go down to this one over here. And we can see indeed, by the end of the first quarter, that's the first time that they generated cumulative profit that was greater than 110. So this is doing what we hoped for it to do. So that's it. So this gives us a view of how we can then move from those PAV figures to understanding rates of return and to understand payback period. So hope this was helpful in kind of rounding out the set.